while Trump was golfing. He was on social media, on Twitter, on X, babbling about this. And the president of Colombia finally caved. And Trump said in an official press release came out from the White House that the tariff threats were removed. So now we don't have to hypothesize of what happens if we give Trump. Is he actually going to remove the tariffs? Is he not going to remove the tariffs? Yeah, he's going to remove the tariffs. I don't think people realize just how nervous I was to make yesterday's video. Everything that I've said and done pretty much on this channel, 99.9% of it has been anti-Trudeau, anti-liberals, anti-current sitting government. Yay, Pierre. Yay, Pierre. The only time I've really criticized Pierre is when Christine Anderson from Europe came over and then the media started attacking her as a right-wing extremist because she took photos with, I think it was Leslyn Lewis at dinner, and Pierre basically just threw her under the bus. And I was like, what are you doing? And that got downvoted to shit. That video was absolutely horrible. People didn't like the fact that I was calling out Pierre for that. But there's a risk versus reward when it comes to making any single video. The reward is me telling my truth. And the risk is me telling my truth. And I'm going to show you guys what that looks like in terms of the analytics yesterday. But I also want to kind of give a bit of a spotlight to other creators that haven't spoken up about this. Other creators watching this, because we all know you're watching, right? You're saying that you agree with Justin Trudeau, with Jagmeet Singh, with Chrystia Freeland, with Carbon Tax Carney, that we should have retaliatory tariffs, and that now you also agree with Pierre Poilievre. I don't think that's right, and that was the purpose of yesterday's video, was for Pierre Poilievre, his team, and people to just be aware that sometimes the people that we admire, our politicians, our pick, can do the wrong thing. And in today's video, we're actually taking a look at one of our politicians, Danielle Smith, do the right thing in terms of acknowledge the tariffs and her response. Pierre doesn't have the right approach, whereas Danielle Smith, I believe, does. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage y'all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel, especially after yesterday. But without further ado, let's get into it. So as you can see here, normally my videos, they get 98.1% average just across all the videos that I've ever done on this channel, all the live streams, all the shorts, everything. Yesterday's was down to 94.1, which isn't that bad considering when I've made a previous video criticizing Pierre Poilievre, it had like immense backlash. It was like 82 or 85%. So a lot of people agree. And again, the message is not F you, Pierre, F you. It's not at all what it is. It's, hey, Pierre, I think you're having the wrong approach here. And it's a little bit weird considering there hasn't been many things that all party leaders agree on. One is this current retaliatory tariff response, and the other is Ukraine, giving Ukraine money. I don't agree with that. Chances are you watching don't agree with that. And chances are Pierre might be having the wrong approach. I stand firm with how I would go about these tariffs. This is still my answer from several days ago, a week ago, actually. Canada should not fight back with the trade war. Canada should be focusing on fixing the things that Trump said we should. Want to know why? Because it benefits Canada. If we fix those things and he still wants the tariffs on, then we can talk about fighting back. But something interesting that happened in the last 24 hours is we now know what Trump does when you give him what he wants. Colombia. He was going to threaten Colombia with 25 or 50% tariffs if they didn't take their illegal immigrants back. And the president of Colombia said, no way, we're not doing that, blah, blah, blah. While Trump was golfing, he was on social media, on Twitter, on X, babbling about this. And the president of Colombia finally caved. And Trump said in an official press release came out from the White House that the tariff threats were removed. So now we don't have to hypothesize of what happens if we give Trump. Is he actually going to remove the tariffs? Is he not going to remove the tariffs? Yeah, he's going to remove the tariffs. So that's a whole new landscape, which again, it just goes to show that I think Canadian politicians have been jumping the gun by saying that we need to attack and be prepared to attack Poilievre, or not Poilievre, to attack America with retaliatory tariffs. Even if they've been saying it's unfortunate that we'd have to do that, I still don't think it's the right approach. So late last night, I posted this on X. Today's events with Colombia prove that if you listen to Trump, you won't get the tariffs. In Canada's case, all we have to do is secure our borders properly, and we won't get the sauce. If you hear any politicians talking about a retaliatory response, they are anti-Canadian. It doesn't mean they are anti-Canadian people. They are just acting against the best interest of you, of me, of Canadians. Now let's take a look at Danielle Smith, who actually has the right approach in a recent interview with Vashi one-on-one. Here we go, folks.
For another perspective is the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith. Premier Smith, good to have you back on the show. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You spent a long time in Washington. Have you had any communication from your contacts in the Trump administration about what is actually coming?
Well, I was pleased to see that there was a reprieve. We don't know how long that's going to be for, but I think what I hear, no matter who I talk to, who's close to him, is that the president likes to have a win. And you can put together a win in any number of ways. He's put tariffs out there as a way to be able to address some of the issues that he has. But I think he's also put a few other things out there, like our NATO commitment, Arctic security, border security. And so I'm of the view that those are the real issues. And if we can address those, we might be able to avoid tariffs altogether.
Yes, we will. And even if the tariffs get put on, if we still do the things that Trump has said, we know that based off of what's happened with Colombia, that there is an opportunity to actually have them removed, albeit Colombia didn't actually have the tariffs on. It was just a threat, and then he took it back. Still, it goes to show that Trump is not messing around. This is not a fight that Canada can win. We have not been meeting our 2% NATO contribution. Now Trump wants to increase that to 5%. That's an uphill battle for whoever's going to take over office, right? Whether it's Mark Carney, whether it's Freeland as interim prime minister, and then inevitably what seems to be like Pierre Poilievre. That's a massive uphill battle. Look at like Pierre, of course. I've given him 300 plus million views. You can't tell me I'm not a Pierre fan. Go to any one of my 5 freaking channels and click popular, and it's all pro Pierre, anti Trudeau on this channel, on House of Canada, blah, 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 blah. It's been phenomenal. I'm very much, I'm pro that. All right. I even got a conservative card, a membership card. But we now aren't just playing within our borders. We're dealing with the guy. We're dealing with the guy, the main character of the world right now. And it's not good to show this. Well, we're going to fight back. We're going to lose horribly.
Do you think those are the real issues? And I ask because, yes, he has raised the specter of each of the 3 things that you just laid out. But he has also talked about, to be frank, some ridiculous things like Canada becoming the 51st state, like tariffs, not being punitive. I remember an interviewer asking him, well, this is going to punish American consumers. He said, I don't agree with you. Like, he believes in the utility of them on their own, aside from any leverage he might be using them to, get more NATO spending, doesn't he?
I think he wants to make sure that we are a partner in the defense of North America and the United States in particular, which is why I think we keep on hearing about 2% NATO. It's why we keep on hearing about Arctic security, and why we keep hearing about the border security plan. Because when you look at what he did on his southern border, that gives you the kind of idea of the sort of response that he's looking for. Maybe not quite to the same degree, but that's a pretty good indication of what he's looking for from us. But it's very clear that this is a president who has advisors who believe that tariffs are a great source of raising revenue. Yeah. The problem in the Canadian context is you add 25% to that many goods going into the United States, it's just going to increase the cost of goods to Americans. And he also has an interest in trying to keep those prices low. So I think that there are some of his ideas that are competing with each other, and it's up to us to make the case about why we should continue to enjoy this tariff-free relationship, take care of the security issues, and then we can maybe start dealing with some of the individual skirmishes and irritants one by one.
You've made the argument.
these things are going to benefit Canada and Canadians by fixing these things. He's not asking us to change our French stop signs from arrêt back to stop because North America should only be an English land. He's not asking us. That would be ridiculous. We'd say, no, Canada's French. We're a bilingual country. Piss off, buddy. But that's not the ask. The ask is very reasonable. I'm not saying we bend the knee to everything. I'm just saying these tariffs can be removed, and they won't be removed with a retaliatory response. They will be removed by completing the things that benefit our country, therefore also benefit America, because our problems are seeping through that border. It's pretty simple, unless I'm missing something here. But this is making me feel like a bit of a genius.
So far that the focus should be placed on that and not on raising the prospect, for example, of counter tariffs. What purpose would that serve?
I always think that you should try to avoid a fight, especially when you've got a bigger adversary that you're fighting against.
That's a similar answer to Pierre. I can admit that. Pierre has said the similar thing. I think we should avoid a trade war at all costs. I acknowledge that. That's a good answer.
American economy is 10 times the size of Canada. And if we get into some kind of tit-for-tat retaliatory tariffs, neither country is going to benefit from that, and Canadian consumers are going to be harmed. That's why my approach has been, what can we do to avoid the fight? That being said,
boom, good. But now she's getting into that being said. Let's see what she says, if it's different from what Pierre said yesterday.
I think we all know, based on previous experience, that having a proportionate response is what is normally expected when these kinds of things occur. And so I know that the federal government is working on what that proportionate response would look like. I hope we don't have to roll it out at all. I hope we can avoid tariffs altogether.
Why?
That's a good answer. It beats around the bush a little bit because it lets your imagination run. A proportionate response, not a, hey, we're going to add a dollar for dollar tariff on you. You do 25 on us. We do 25 on you. A proportionate response is a political answer. That's good. And it's crazy because I'm all about like full transparency and stuff like that. But when it comes to talking about this, I feel like if you use those generic words, you're less likely to set yourself up for a disaster moving forward, right? Saying a proportionate response is much, much, much better than actually saying what he or she thinks that proportionate response is in detail, which is what Trudeau has done, which is what Jagmeet Singh has done by cutting off minerals, and what Doug Ford has done. We're going to cut off the power, man. They're not going to have power anymore. That's like some yeehaw shit. That's not going to work. What Freeland has done, we're going to hit them harder than they've hit us. And then what Pierre Poilievre has unfortunately done by saying, unfortunately, we're going to have to hit them back. I don't like that. I much, much, much prefer a proportionate response. I mean, it still says the underlying message is still that we're going to do something back. But even then, she said the go-to has been providing a proportionate response. So it lets your imagination run. Nothing set in stone. I like that. It's wishy-washy, but in this instance, I like it. I prefer it.
Why wouldn't we, though, be saying to this administration, like, we are willing to go there should? I mean, I hear every politician who's talking about that say, like, look, this isn't what we want, but if we have to get there, we are ready to do so. Like, why wouldn't we put that foot forward and stand up for ourselves rather than just try to make a case that so far has failed to convince Donald Trump of anything?
I guess it just depends.
We're not making a case that's failed. We're not doing the things that we're asked. Come on, Vashi. We're talking about America here. We're not talking about Luxembourg. We're not dealing with Mexico, right? If America slaps us, sometimes it's best to walk away before you get seriously, seriously hurt. I don't understand the ego in this. I don't understand we have to stand up for ourselves. It's America. They can squash us. What the hell do you mean stand up for ourselves? 10 times the population, 10 times the economy growth. She just admitted that. That's insane. You get slapped by America, you take the loss, you walk away. Like, we're good. Unless you want to be the 51st state. They're double talking. They're hypocritical. Oh, man, it drives me nuts.
what you think about what it is the president really wants. This is a president that likes the fight. And so if we're going to be fighting publicly, then I don't think we're going to be moving on to the issues that really matter. He's also a president that likes the wins. And so I think that there are ways for us to get those wins. And that's why I think we've got to try that first. Now, it may not work. It may well be that because of his attitude around tariffs, we are the largest buyer of American goods and services, but we also sell a lot into the American market. That could generate a lot of revenue for him if that's what he's really after. But I think that it will become clear very soon that the impact that will have on American consumers. I think it will also prevent him from being able to bring down gasoline prices. It'll also prevent him from being able to secure the critical minerals supply chain that he's concerned about securing so that they can have AI dominance. So I'm of the view that we have a very strong case to make, every single province, for energy security, critical mineral security, food security, the auto parts industry, and the benefit that gives to Americans on lower price cars. I think we have a case to be made, and that's why I've been out there trying to make it. I don't know if it'll work, but I think it's worth an effort to try to avoid tariffs.
If it does.
Yes, it is very much in everyone's best interest to avoid tariffs. And I'm just going to interject here with a question for all of the viewers right now. Do you agree or disagree with this? Trump, at some point in the near future, is going to make an example of a country. Now, he's making an example of Canada and Mexico right now, saying, hey, rest of the world, I don't care if these are my neighbors. This is America's golden era. That's scary. And we all know that Trump is way more ballsy than any other president. But those are just threats right now. At some point, it's going to cross that line and not be a threat. And he's actually going to make an example and hang a country right there for everyone to see in the town square. I don't want that to be Canada. Will Trump screw over Canada if our politicians are doing this ego game? Yeah. Yes, I absolutely believe that. He's a businessman. He's doing all these power moves. He's done more in 5 days than Biden did in 4 years. Like, come on, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. I'm not trying to blow smoke up America's butt right now, but this is a real thing. You're not dealing with a politician. You're dealing with a businessman who's on a crazy run right now to literally fix America and restabilize the rest of the world. You want to pick a fight with that guy? We're not the country to pick that fight. I'm sorry, but we're not.
Doesn't work. There has been a lot of discussion about what levers Canada has at its disposal to counter. And I know you talked about a proportionate response. Much of the debate has focused on, the sort of nuclear option, that being adding an export tax to energy that we send to the United States, or even blocking that energy altogether. I know that you have argued that it's not logical, and that you would very much oppose that. Steve Verhoeven, who was our negotiator during the initial round of renegotiating NAFTA essentially a number of years ago, said that you've undermined Canada's negotiating position this time around. Doesn't he have a point?
I think we have to have a realistic argument. You really shouldn't threaten to do things that you can't do. And when you think about the potential, if the Americans took the same viewpoint, that they were going to cut off energy exports into Eastern Canada, that would be absolutely devastating, because the vast majority of the gasoline and energy products that Eastern Canada gets come by way of the United States. So I don't think that that's a productive way to engage in the discussion. What I would prefer for us to do, have a proportionate response, absolutely. But then let's start working on ways to get back to that tariff-free relationship. You can make that argument from every single provincial perspective. You can make the argument in terms of the costs that are going to go up for American consumers. And I think that.
And keep in mind that this interview was conducted before all of this information with Colombia came out. So after this interview aired, later on yesterday evening, that's when the whole thing with Colombia happened, where the president, said, okay, fine, Trump, you get what you want. We're going to send a presidential plane, and then you're going to board all the illegal immigrants, and we're going to take them back. And then Trump removed the threat of tariffs. That is the first time that we've seen a reversal of those threats. So I think that in coming interviews, you're going to start to see the rhetoric change. And hey, no, we shouldn't be focusing on a proportionate or retaliatory response. We should be focusing on the task at hand so that Trump can remove those tariffs. That's what it should have been. That's what I've been preaching. I've been screaming it. Excuse me, from top of buildings. I've been screaming it on social media, man. Hey, stop threatening, fix our stuff. And I think that now in the next few days, right up until February 1st, you're going to see some more of that rhetoric happen. Hopefully we get an extension on the tariffs, but even entertaining retaliatory tariffs right now, I don't think that's good. I think that's really going to harm us. And our politicians are fighting an egotistical battle right now that they're going to lose. And it's coming at your and I expense. And I don't like that.
That's going to be our pressure point. When you look at the members of Congress and the governors, they certainly know that most of them have their principal trade relationship with Canada, and it goes both ways. And so I think leveraging those relationships are going to be able to make the case. If we can get some of those voices standing up and saying, this is a bad idea, I think we'll be able to get through whatever tariff war we have, hopefully fast, hopefully avoid it altogether.
What's striking to me, though, is how silent they all are. Nobody is coming to our defense. Nobody appears to be advocating for us on the inner circle of Trump at the moment. And that wasn't necessarily the case 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. And
fix our stuff, Fasci. Fix our stuff. It's not that complicated. Canada needs to fix our stuff. You should be pressuring the Liberal government and whomever that leader is. And it's not Trudeau. He's committed to resigning even though he's not a quitter. Oh no, my papier, right? Come on. Stop sitting here going, oh, nobody's advocating for Trump. What are you doing? Go do the job. Use this platform now to say, hey, Justin. Hello, Justin. Are you there? Go do it, please, or Canadians are going to be even more pissed.
So I'll ask again. I do get the logistics of what you're saying, and maybe it doesn't end up being something that can necessarily come to fruition. But why would we come to a fight with the thing that we have the most leverage with, like one arm tied behind us? Like, what is the point of taking that off the table? And are you doing that just to advance your own political interest domestically?
Well, Albertans don't want to see another equalization program. Let's be very clear about what an export tariff is. It means putting a tax on Canadian goods so that all the dollars go to Ottawa, so that Ottawa can use those dollars to redistribute to other provinces. And we've seen that newsreel before. We saw it with the way equalization works, but more in our history, the way Pierre Trudeau dealt with our province, and it created national unity problems. This is not a time that while we're having a fight with our biggest trading partner, that we also have a fight with each other. I would say let's focus on the things that we can agree on together. Let's take a Team Canada approach. Let's maybe get the Energy East pipeline back on the rails so that our Eastern Canadian friends don't have to rely on the U.S. for this vital fuel. Let's talk about more ways to get pipelines to the West Coast so that we can diversify our markets and be able to support our friends in Japan and Korea and elsewhere. I think that that's a more constructive conversation to have. If we're going to have this temporary or maybe even more permanent problem with our U.S. partner, we've got to be looking at new markets, and we would be far better off working together rather than putting forward policies that are only going to divide us.
And look, I've asked the federal government on how many occasions over the last number of years about those extra markets and building capacity to them. But even putting that aside for a moment, we're in the moment we're in. I've also asked ministers in the past. I'm surprised
she's not talking about inter-provincial trade. That's another thing too that our politicians aren't talking about, unless I'm completely missing it. But every single province in Canada acts as its own kind of country. Every single province, like Alberta, can't sell. Wasn't there a dude who got arrested and put in jail for buying liquor on the East Coast and then selling it in like Alberta or British Columbia or something like that? You can't do that in Canada. It's absolutely mental. So we should be using our Alberta oil for all of us, because right now I think we're just selling Alberta oil to America, and then the rest of the country is buying it back province for province. That's insane. Unless I'm completely wrong on this, but we should be talking about intra-provincial trade. That's how you build our economy from the inside. Never mind selling to Japan. Yeah, let's make our dollar. Let's get our bag and let's make Canada a bit more rich. But we should be using our oil province for province. We should be using it here, not selling it to other countries and buying it back. The intra-provincial trade, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I'd like to see some more talk of that.
Speak if they would do the same thing that people are threatening over oil with auto exports, which would have a equally proportionate impact on Ontario. And they said yes. Like they're not making it a national unity crisis, aren't you?
I don't think that will happen, first of all. And second of all,
but they're not taking it off the table. That's the point, right? Maybe logistically, like you say, both are not really great options, but they're not saying, no, I would never do that.
Well, I think the problem that we saw is that we were getting together as a group of premiers and the prime minister saying, let's not negotiate this in public. And I did my part saying, let's focus on the things that we know the Americans care about, national security and border security. And everybody else went off freelancing. And the thing they kept returning to was punishing Alberta and punishing energy. So I just wanted to make sure that we get back to talking about the things that unite us rather than divide us. And so Albertans are just simply not going to accept an export tax on this product. They're not going to accept the federal government blocking the export of this vital product. And I don't think that demonstrates to the Americans that we are a reliable trading partner, which is what we are trying to do. Let's find new markets. 100% on board with that. Now that
and intra-provincial trade. Come on, please, Premier, say it.
We've got Trans Mountain, we have the ability to not only increase the amount that goes through that pipe, but also find new markets with it. Right now, most of it is going to the United States on the West Coast. Maybe we should start signing deals with India, with Spain, and with other jurisdictions. So I think that that's a far more constructive way for us to talk about how we can work together as a country. Same with all of our critical minerals. I mean, Saskatchewan provides 20% of the world's supply of uranium. You've heard David Eby talk about germanium being one of the key products that they have up in Northwest Territories. They have an immense opportunity on lithium. Those can go anywhere. Those can go on a rail car, those can go on a ship, and those can go anywhere around the world. And everybody wants them. So why don't we talk about ways we can support each other on finding those new markets? I think it's a far more a constructive way of approach.
Instead of selling all of it, we should be thinking, how can this benefit us? With the rise of AI, China just came out with a new AI called DeepSeek or something like that, and it absolutely tanked the American stock market right now. Nvidia, $3 trillion company, dropped below $3 trillion market cap today for the first time. Everyone's panicking about AI because everyone thought America was the lead in AI. And then China came out with a model that they put $5 million instead of billions of dollars into it. And now everyone's panicking over one simple test that blows ChatGPT and OpenAI out of the water for a fraction of what America has been paying to invest in their AI. We should be investing in AI data mining centers. We should be investing in nuclear energy in our north. The best thing that you need for data mining is all these computers, all the fans. It has to cool off. We have an advantage over every country in the world, minus Russia and Greenland. Greenland is ice. Iceland is green. I got to say that because the Mighty Ducks, it's forever ingrained in my brain. We could be doing this stuff up in the north, man. Never mind selling all this stuff to other countries so that they can advance their technology. Canada has a real opportunity to do that. That's putting Canada first. But also what Danielle Smith has said in this interview is bang on. Bang on. Okay, yeah, sure. We'll think of a proportionate response. That's the best political answer you can give to swat it away like a fly and then focus at the real task at hand. We should be not talking about these things, not talking about retaliatory responses. We should be focusing on fixing this. Come on, guys. We got a real opportunity. And the fact that she's sticking it to Trudeau, the Liberals, and sticking it to Ottawa, she's the only politician in Canada, happens to be at a premier level, that's kind of doing the most pro-Canadian thing that anyone is doing or even talking about, which is incredible. I am so happy that Danielle Smith got that platform on CTV to share that message. And here I am to add some commentary to it. Let me know down in the comments what your guys' thoughts and concerns are about this interview. If you agree or disagree with any of the points that I've mentioned, please let me know why. And that is the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. It would be nice to recoup some of those lost subscribers from yesterday. And I'll see you guys in another video. Bye for now.